After traveling for 3 months through several countries I've never been to before, I was looking forward to reach a place familiar. Since the age of 16 I've spent several years living in China and would consider myself quite knowledgeable with what China is like, with its culture, language and people. Right after Kyrgyzstan, my first destination was the Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region, or short, Xinjiang. A province I've never been to before and where I experienced something completely unexpected. And that's what this video is about. In the morning we headed towards the border between Kyrgyzstan and China. After we walked through the no man's land, we had to wait for quite a bit until we finally could leave the border point. A 150 kilometers and several checkpoints later, we made it into Kashgar, my first city in Xinjiang. Can't talk, have to sleep. See you tomorrow. Before I show you Kashgar, let's talk a little bit about the province first. Xinjiang, which literally translates into New Borderland, is with over 1.6 million square kilometers China's biggest province, but it is only inhabited by 24 million people. The two biggest ethnic groups are Uyghur and Han, but you also will find Kazakhs, Hui, Kyrgyz and many more. The main religion is the Islam, practiced mainly by the Uyghur and Hui. My first destination, the old oasis city Kashgar, is inhabited mainly by the Uyghur, a Turkic ethnic group which worldwide's majority is living in Xinjiang.
Kata, l'armée quand même pas kata.
So this actually reminds me a lot of Iran. This like in Yazd, the small narrow streets, and it's pretty cool.
This was the old city of Kashgar, lying behind these city walls and frequented by tourists. Outside the city walls, Kashgar's appearance is quite similar compared to other Chinese big cities. One difference though are the signs. They're often written in both Chinese characters and the Uyghur Arabic script. Another aspect of the Uyghur traditions is the weekly Sunday livestock market.
And I've been told, or I've read, that if you want to become vegan, you should go there.
And that was the weekly livestock market. Not the most pleasant place to be, but an interesting insight into the culture and traditions of the Uyghur. The next few days I spent walking around town, trying typical Uyghur food, drinking tea, and I did a short visit to the night market. Throughout all these days, there were a few things that really caught my eye. The first thing
is the huge amount of police. It seems like in every corner there are policemen or security men, and almost everywhere there's security checks. So another thing that caught my eye were the huge amounts of Chinese national flags.
They were everywhere. Another thing that really surprised me was that there is an unofficial time zone in Xinjiang. As you might know, there's only one official time zone in China, the Beijing time. In Xinjiang, the unofficial time zone is 2 hours behind the Beijing time. Schools, shops and offices act according to the Xinjiang or local time. Train and buses operate according to the official Beijing time. After a few days in Xinjiang experiencing all these differences in culture, language and history,
I was wondering, is this China?
By any means, I don't want to exclude anyone. Actually, the independence movement of this province is quite strong. There were several incidents in the last years referred as the Xinjiang conflict. To get a better understanding of the situation, let's go back in time for a bit. As big parts of the Asian Silk Road led through today's Xinjiang, this area has been fought over by the Huns, Mongols, Chinese, Uyghurs and many more. So there was a constant change of the ruling nation throughout the centuries. It was not until the 8th century when the Uyghur first settled down, but the fighting continued. During the Qing dynasty in the 18th century, these territories fell under control of the Qing Emperor Qianlong. Since then it's been part of China. The next centuries weren't that peaceful either. There has been riots, rebellions, wars and takeovers, but the government didn't retreat. Instead, investments were made in infrastructure and industry, and a massive resettlement took place, where the proportion of Han Chinese in the population increased from 4% in 1949 to 38% in 1973. In the beginning of the 1990s, when the Soviet Union collapsed and the Xinjiang neighbors gained their independence, Xinjiang separatists gained hope. Demonstrations were held peacefully, but dissolved by the military, often with violence and including many deaths. A series of terrorist attacks followed, killing several dozen people, police, such as civilians, and often targeted against Han Chinese. In the following years, the situation de-escalated, but the inter-ethnic tension held on. So what are the conflict points today? What are the separatists accusing the Chinese government of? It's about oppression of language, culture and religion, the exploitation of natural resources such as gas, oil and coal, racial discrimination, and the resettlement policy. Some activists say what's happening in Xinjiang today is pure, modern imperialism. Okay, let's calm down a bit. I'm definitely not in any position to judge. If you're interested in the topic, I encourage you to do some deeper research. After all, I'm just a traveler sharing my thoughts while traveling here. And right now, I'm heading for Urumqi, the capital of Xinjiang.
So I finally went through all the checks in the train station. There are so many checks you have to go through for I think there are 3 of them, like for your luggage. I think getting luggage checked like at least once or twice, and then your passport check, your body check. It's kind of ridiculous.
After 20 hours on the train, I finally arrived in Urumqi. To be honest, Urumqi wasn't a very interesting place. It's like any other bigger Chinese city. So I'm washing my clothes and one of my socks fell from there into there. Nice. After 2 days here, I headed to Tuerpan, my last station in Xinjiang. Luckily there was a guy in the hostel who was going there by car, so I could hitch a ride. After an hour drive, we made it into the oasis town Tuerpan. In my new hostel I met some fellow travelers and together we got a car and a driver to see some of the historic ruins outside of town.
Today's the day. Today I'm leaving Tuerpan for Shanghai. Tonight I'm gonna go on the 44-hour train ride.
But that's for the next video.
As I mentioned in the beginning of the video, Xinjiang was completely different from what I expected, but I think that's what made it so interesting and intense. If you're planning on traveling there, I highly recommend you to visit farwestchina.com. It's a website by Josh Summers with tons of useful information to help you plan your trip. And I'll also link his channel down below. I only saw a tiny little bit about Xinjiang, but there's so much more to see, like crazy deserts with sand dunes, mountains and lakes. Keep in mind that Xinjiang is massive and it takes a lot of time to get around. So that's it for now. I hope you liked the video. Feel free to leave a comment. I know the Xinjiang conflict, it's a loaded topic, so please be fair. Thank you for watching and hope to see you soon. Bye.